It sounds like something from a disaster movie, which might explain why there's usually speculation about what might happen when we have a sudden stratospheric warming. It's true that it brought the so-called beast from the east to the UK in 2018. 10 days of freezing temperatures and heavy snow. But sudden stratospheric warming events happen fairly often, and they don't always mean a bitter blast of wintry conditions. So how do they happen? Between 10 and 30 miles above us, a strong current of air known as the polar vortex spins in an anti-clockwise direction at about 150 miles an hour. This spin cycle traps cold air above the Arctic. But sometimes, like a spinning top, it slows down and starts to wobble or breaks up and turns in the opposite direction. And when this happens, that cold air sinks inwards and downwards, rapidly warming as it falls, and that's why it's called sudden stratospheric warming. If that sinking air filters down into the troposphere, the bit of the atmosphere in which our weather happens, it can change the shape of the jet stream, the ribbon of fast-moving air which drives our weather. If the jet stream buckles, it can push Arctic air further south and a cold pattern becomes blocked in. Scientists are still studying the long-term impacts of climate change on the polar vortex. This winter has seen some minor sudden stratospheric warming events and several spells of extreme cold in different parts of the northern hemisphere. Very cold weather gripped much of East Asia in late January. In China, -53°C was recorded, the country's lowest recorded temperature since at least 1969. And in the US, on Mount Washington in New Hampshire, the wind chill temperature dropped to a record -78°C with winds of 97 miles per hour. Nothing like that in the UK, but we have had some relatively intense cold during December and January. And computer models are forecasting a major sudden stratospheric warming event around the middle of February. But it's still too early to tell if this will influence our weather at all, and especially whether it will cause anything like a beast from the east.